starting to get to the actual disconnect here. I think men have, on our side at least, I think men have just gone to the point like our only comeback is to say, can you cook or clean? And not saying, a lot of women can't, but I don't think it's just as promoted as much. I don't go into places saying, can you cook or clean? But the money standard for men, at least, has only increased. Like we was talking earlier with social media, if you're not buying her a Birkin, or if you're not paying her rent, if you're not paying for the full date, it's like it's kind of that standard. So I think that's where the disconnect come from, because I definitely hear what you guys are saying, as far as can you cook or clean. I think it's men kind of saying, okay, if you want me to be a provider and protector, the old school way, are you going to be cooking and cleaning the old school way? So I think that's where that kind of comes from.
And if it's that
Because
way,
honestly,
then
nobody. Yeah,
sure.
I was just gonna say, because
That
honestly, who's really for real cooking right now? Like, who really throwing down? Okay, you a few. So Yada and Ariel is for real cooking, like for real chefing up. That's about it. Other than that, I can cook myself. I can clean myself as well. And Jamil brought that up in the last podcast. I can cook and clean myself, so I don't need that. It's gonna be extra on top of that. What I'm, not essentially I'm expecting on what I want, but it's not gonna be you cooking or cleaning, because I'm not. I can do that. If we need to eat, you want some pizza tonight, I'll go pick up some pizza, or I'm finna throw in some baked chicken and some rice and broccoli in the microwave in the oven, and we gonna get it cracking like that. I ain't expecting you to do all that, especially, if you working. And I think that's what we need to start talking about, instead of what we're all expecting from the other side, is how we can work with the other side, what the other side is bringing. You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of focusing on, oh, well, if you don't got this, if you can't cook, or you can't fix my tire, then why are you asking for this? Or how about, oh, I can cook, and yo dad or yo uncle know how to fix cars, and now we can work something out like that way, figure out solutions instead of pointing out problems on the other side. So that's more what I'm trying to lean towards, and what I'm trying to focus on more now, because I get tired of the battle, especially seeing on social media, folks asking folks to clean, folks asking folks to buy them Birkins. It's like, can we get with the times now? Ain't none of us cooking and cleaning for real. And ain't none of us, for like, the majority of us aren't buying people Birkins. Like,
right.
Let's talk about real solutions, because we're real people. Let's talk about real stuff. Let's be honest. That's what I got on it. That's my 2 cents.
Oh yeah, Jamil, you got something to say?
Not this time, bro. Y'all good. Y'all good.
I was gonna say I had a point.
My fault if I cut you off, y'all, too.
Oh, you straight. I'm trying to think. It was something you said earlier. I guess kind of like even like gender roles and stuff too. Like Sam brought it up, and Kevin Samuels, right? He says this a lot too. But it's like, if it's gonna be like a traditional way, like if you want the men to do all that, then like I feel like a lot of women have a problem with it being like the traditional way, but they're asking for a traditional man. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. Like I said, I guess like communication and just understanding, I guess, is a big problem. Because like if you want like men pay for everything, like protect, provide, like we're gonna do those gender roles, then it's like the women have responsibilities too. But it's like sometimes it's like the man is doing this, and that. And then like when it comes to like a woman's responsibility, just from like experience or what I've heard, it's like it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like they want a traditional man, but it's like they don't want to be a traditional woman. You know what I'm saying? So what do y'all think of that?
I think it's honestly the choice of women that you're choosing, because it's like, honestly, in my headset, I wouldn't say I would be traditional, because I would still provide financially as well. But in my head, more so like, oh, if you cover the mortgage, I'll cover, like, if the house needs groceries, utility, like toiletries and laundry and like little stuff around the house, because that adds up as well. like that type of things. But I feel like nowadays men are so obsessed with the stripper fantasy that of course you're not going to get a traditional woman out of a not, let me not say that, but most of the time that the women that men chase, they're not going to get the traditional woman out of them, of course not. But it's women out here that still have those values, that want that, that's actually looking for that agreement, because that's why I want to get married. I want somebody I could trust to go half on everything with, pretty much to make life easier. And you know, it's women that still want that.
I think you brought up a good point. As far as have, like, I agree with that to a certain extent. You know, marriage is kind of when we start getting where people are paying 100% of something, or paying for most of that. That's my view. If we're just boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, nothing, no ring on no fingers, then we can be half right now because we both chilling. But also too, we got to think about our other question that we asked, like how we seen other relationships. We seen a broken family from our parents' relationships a lot of times, or our grandparents' relationships. So nobody's trying to be fully invested. And, sometimes mama had to play both roles growing up. So you see your mom providing for the whole house, cooking and cleaning for the house, and, one person sees that, I'm not going to speak for how women viewed that growing up, but for at least for me growing up, I seen it as, my mom taking care of everything. She taking care, she going to work, working hard, all that extra stuff. I come back from school, I got a meal, the house looking somewhat clean. Of course, we clean up too, but then me thinking of like a partner, I'm trying to not see my partner doing all that. I'm not trying to see my partner having to get off work, cooking and cleaning. If I'm part of that too, if I did half of that, I wouldn't expect that. So I think that's another aspect too. So I like that we asked that question at the beginning, because I think that plays a factor as well on what each side is expecting. Nobody has seen, not nobody, but a lot of us hasn't seen anybody pay 100% of everything or actually played those gender roles for real. So asking for that just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback off of that too, like, when we talk about gender roles, like in traditional roles, like we have to, understand that you can't really think in those strict terms in today's world. Like I grew up seeing, my mom, she was making more money than my father and cooking and cleaning, basically doing everything. She was tired from all of that, and she still got divorced, like, at the end of the day, like, and, got left as a single mother, like, well, co-parenting with my dad. So it's like growing up seeing that, her doing everything, it's like, well, okay, so she's already, making the money, she's cooking and cleaning. It's like, well, then what more could she have done? Obviously, like, there's other aspects that goes into a marriage that is beyond, gender roles and all of that. There's, emotional support and all of that too, that is important, that goes along with that. But I think that, yeah, it's important to, look beyond those roles sometimes, and, understand that at the end of the day, it's whatever works with like that relationship. And you can't just say that, oh, just because one person, is doing this or that or XYZ, like that, the relationship is supposed to be a certain way. Like, I think, but it's a good point that you brought up, definitely. Like, yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah, if anybody else wanna go ahead, and I think we can get to the next question if we got some.
Yeah, Jamil, you got anything to say?
Last thing I want to say on that point, man, I think when it comes to kind of adapting to what you're doing in relationships, you could take certain things from tradition and they definitely are useful, but the traditional way, um, in a dogmatic sense, meaning you just do whatever, you do it that way, no matter what the situation is, I think that's a problem. You have to do what works, and that brings ease to yourself and your partner. Because there's no point in burning out one person just for the sake of doing it the traditional way. You know what I'm saying? Like, or just because this is the culture, then that's the way it should be done. And that's what they call the fallacy of tradition. Like, just because it's tradition doesn't mean you have to stick with it. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we're intelligent enough to do it what works or to what's easier for each person, then y'all live in a more peaceful way in that way rather than sticking to the dogma.
Facts. I like that you
Yeah,
brought that
for
up.
sure. Like, cause even in like today's setting, like it's a lot easier to have like a family with two different incomes. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that, and maybe the man not paying for everything, right? And as far as cooking and cleaning, like I don't mind doing some of that either. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's just a responsible thing to do. Like, I'm not gonna just leave a mess and just because I'm the man, you got to clean it up. Like, you know, that's not fair, right? You feel me? But yeah, it's just definitely like things like that. Definitely, got to change, especially when it comes to like, I don't know, like it's just work and income, and maybe she don't got to work full time, I guess, but it's just, it's a lot easier. Like, do you want your kids to have things, you know what I'm saying? Or do you just want to be traditional and just struggle off one income, so there's definitely some adaptations that we can make.
Facts. Do you want to get to the next question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hold
one.
on, where are we at? Where are we at? Oh, okay. Why are women comfortable with being single in today's time?
Oh man, I'm comfortable because I could do bad all by myself.
Uh-oh.
Uh,
Say that again.
oh man.
Look at Remy. Look at Remy. Remy like, oh Lord.
And I'm sorry, that is the bitter, angry woman in me. Just because I have been in relationships where I thought like, oh, well, if I give my all, then this would turn out like how I want in the end. Like this would be it. We'll be married and stuff like that. And then just time after time again, just me choosing the wrong men and them showing me that they're just selfish has caused me to be a little bitter, to the point where I might have a little resentment, but I'm like trying to grow and like not let that like have full effect over me. But at the moment, I'm just like, look, the guys nowadays aren't even like men for real. They're still boys. So it's like I'm not missing out on anything. Not at the moment.
For me, what I would say, I'd rather be single than look stupid. And I feel like, I don't know, cheating has become so normalized and just, I mean, I am speaking from hurt, obviously, like an experience, like where I felt like I did have something real finally. And then just to find out, I thought we were boyfriend and girlfriend. He had a whole girl on me, and situations like that. Like, it does make you a bit more bitter and like feel like, okay, well, is this like the norm now? Is this like even the good guys? This is what they're doing now. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like women feel comfortable being single because you're not putting up with that necessarily. Like, you can have a bit more control of the situation in term, like, yeah. And it just all goes down to trust, because a lot of the times I feel like with women who choose to be single, they are because they choose to be, because they don't necessarily feel like they're gaining more out of being in a relationship. At least that's what I think. Like, I feel like I'm single because I feel like that's just where I am right now. I don't feel like I necessarily need a relationship at the moment, but that probably would change the closer I get to wanting to have children and, start a family, that type of thing. So.
Okay.
I was gonna say on the flip side, Yada and Jamil, if we want to speak on, kind of how we feel, if men feel comfortable currently being single. Also pushing, we know the manosphere pushes having rotations. And also,
Rotation.
You
yeah.
hear it. You hear it. You hear it.
But I'm just saying
Rotation.
the rotations. I know that's a big thing, at least with men. Or also too for men. This is another thing that's being pushed. Is being the simp. So actually catering to a girl and kind of going all out for the girl and putting your heart and investing time and effort into her. On the other flip side of that, we got other men in our community calling people simps if you do that. you know, and it's certain characteristics that take men away from wanting to be in relationships. So I don't know if Kenyatta or Jamil, if y'all want to talk about that as well, on why some men, I know I kind of touched on it, on why some men prefer to be single.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this isn't like for myself, but like, I mean, we kind of just been talking about this all throughout. I guess kind of like the baby mama, baby daddy culture. You know what I'm saying? Like we see a lot of that, and some of us just feel comfortable. Like, okay, that's how it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't for everybody, but I know like I didn't really see a good like family structure. You feel me? So a lot of people have that in mind, but like personally, I mean, kind of like Will said before, like when I guess, how do I say this? Like I gotta make sure it's the right one. You know what I'm saying? Like she said, I don't want to just rush into something and then maybe look stupid because there's some things I didn't look into, or you know what I'm saying. But I definitely, at the end of the day, I understand that I feel like black men need black women, and I definitely want to have like a family. You feel me? Just whenever that's right and whenever I find the right person. What about you, Jamil?
Definitely what Sam talking about, especially if you're looking in the manosphere or that RP content, things like that, like men self-help in that way. They do push that sort of thing. So like one thing you gotta not do if there's young men watching this is they call it don't overdose, you know, on that content or get too to the point where you bitter and stuff toward women. Because it can get to that point. You go from one extreme to the other. I would say for me, man, look, we young men, we building, investing in things like that. Like y'all said, man, you don't want to make the mistake, and you know, you making an investment in the whole person, and they ain't the right one. So like, a lot of men out here, the reason that content exists is because we had experiences where you know you invest emotionally, financially, everything into a woman, and then I'm gonna be honest, some women don't know how to handle that. So that's been my experience. Like not having a dude that's out here dogging you out, they, you know, they accuse you all sort. It's just like, just, you know, you got
Crazy.
trauma and stuff, you know, you projecting that sort of thing. And it's like, look, if you got a dude that's, you know, serious, like really trying to, like y'all trying to build a family, right? So that's not necessarily what we on, but it is a lot of dudes out here, and it's hard to, you know, to take that in. But I would say I'm chilling because I got things to focus on. When you're in a relationship, your focus kind of change, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of shifts toward that person. So I might as well, you know, kind of build myself up until I'm ready to take that investment again. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and I'll
Hey,
speak. Yada, you wanted to go?
I was gonna say one more thing, right? I kind of wanted to bring this up too, but like, yeah, y'all heard that women are like more mature than men. I'm sure y'all heard that, right? From my experiences, it has not been like that at all. I'm sorry. Like the outburst, you feel me? The accusing people, like you supposed to be more mature than me, but you have a temper tantrum. Like, that's another reason why I've kind of just stayed out the way. Like I need to find somebody mature, like emotionally. You feel me? Like I ain't gonna trip on you and spaz out on you. Like, you feel me? I don't see that as mature, like as an adult thing to do. But like, I feel like it's been socially accepted for women to just do that. You know what I'm saying? Like to cuss out they man, like that's normal. You feel me? So
That's
that's
that promotion of toxicity on from both sides, from on social media. That being toxic is cute, and being in a toxic relationship is fun. It's exciting because you don't know what's gonna happen next. Like that's the whole thing. I don't got time for it because I don't got
hell
no
no.
time for no headache. We ain't getting into
We
that.
grown over here. Ain't
I'm
nobody
trying to
got
get some
time for
money.
that.
But yeah,
Right.
that's what social media do. But to kind of speak on that too, I think sometimes why, other than small stuff, I think a lot of men choose to be single, hurt. I know a lot of times, especially like a few years ago, people would be like, "Hey man, she hurt you when you were 16. You need to get over that." Like some dudes still be traumatized from their first relationships. But then too, I think another thing is men trying to live up to a standard and trying to build some kind of like what Jamel has said, like especially early on our 18 through like 25, like we gotta build like because, you know, marriage is like right around the corner. And, you know, if you don't got that full-time position or anything like that, you don't even feel stable enough to even for real settle down for real with a woman or invest that. So I think that's another reason why it's just trying to build something because of how society has made it to where, you know, you have to be on your toes. Like we talked about at the beginning, you gotta, if you still in your mama house at 23, what is you doing? You're crazy. If you can't provide a Birkin, you're crazy. And also I think that's flip hand on it too for women. You know, women are, of course, education level in education rates is going up. Starting their own businesses, doing their own thing. They ain't got time for a man like that because they trying to build. They trying to get to the bag too. And so I think that's another reason why, you know, everybody is cool with being single at the moment, because you can fall back on, hey, I'm working on myself and I'm building and I'm waiting for that right person to come around. So that's how I feel about it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You said that it's normal for guys to not feel comfortable with being in a full relationship, or focusing on their relationship if they don't have everything together. And I actually agree with that, because I read this book by Steve Harvey, said act like a lady and think like a man. And he actually pointed that out. And I don't understand, because if a woman isn't like where she wants to be 100%, she has no problem with like building herself while being with her man, building them up. But it's really not the same. I feel like if the guy reaches his goal sooner, he starts to look back and judge the woman for not being like where she wants to be at. And then that's where the wandering eye comes in, where he gets to looking for other women that might be where he like already where he wants her to be at. I just want to know why. Like, why is that a thing with guys? Like, how come you guys don't have patience with your significant other? And just like, even if it takes her a little bit longer, why is that a problem? Or like, why do you feel like you have to be at a certain level to be able to love?
Jamil, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I definitely what I've heard, and people, I got friends and a lot of people in these situations, and it'd be like one of my guys, and they might not be in the best situation, so she'll say right off the rip, I'm okay with you not having everything together. But then when they get into it, she throw that in his face, like, you ain't got nothing together, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. But like,
Yeah.
that's not the energy he's turning to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, he not saying, girl, you ain't got nothing together. Like, the woman usually the one to bring that up. Like, you ain't ish.
No,
you
my
ain't.
past relationship, the guy was bringing that up. He was bringing it up for me.
But I feel like on average, and also as a man too, like, I mean, there's just certain things, like, as far as like the emotional like behavior, there's just certain things I feel like I'm just not gonna deal with. Like, I'm not gonna get verbally abused, and just, you know what I'm saying? Like, some of that's just hard to change. But I feel like as a man, like, we feel like we feel like we gotta support and just provide. You feel me? So it's almost like, dang, like if I don't have something, I might feel self-conscious, or like, kind of like Jamil said, what we don't have, it's like, okay, that's gonna be used against me, and then that creates this whole thing about, damn, so I'm not even gonna open up, because if I'm working on something, I tell you about, you throw it in my face or something, like, so it's crazy. But yeah, I definitely feel like there's a lot of pressure of just like, for men at least, to just like have everything right away. You know what I'm saying? So.
Okay, so you guys, you both just answered that question for me. So to make sure I understand you both, you guys feel like you want to wait until you're established, because it's pretty much like a safety net from you guys pretty much being judged and criticized by the woman, pretty much saying like, oh, well, you don't have this. It's kind of like, well, if I already have it, you can't really say anything, right? Is that what it is?
That's part of it, but then I feel like this, like the stigma, and kind of like as a man, it's like a man gotta provide, a man gotta have his own. You know what I'm saying? You're not a man if you don't have this. Like, you hear stuff like that. So that's just part of it. But then it's like, almost as a man, it's like we kind of feel like, okay, we need to have these things so we can, before we get into something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
especially if it's kids coming, if it's babies coming, like, especially if you don't want them in the same situation, it's like, yo, I gotta make it. And I know women have a clock for wanting kids, but men have a clock for, being successful and providing. and being in a space where we can do that. Cause, you know, once you hit 30 and you're not at the place you want to be, now your heart start racing. You know, folks talking to you a little different when, you know, if you don't got a full-time job or you don't got a car, if you don't got it all together, folks start talking to you different. Not only women, but men too. Men on the other side. You can't talk to me if you a certain way. And we hear it in the music, you know, the rappers calling each other broke every day. You know, they all millionaires and they still calling each other broke. So, and that trickles down to the regular level. You know, if you making 50 and you see some dude making 80, for one, you know, in our minds at least, women are going to be more attracted to a dude that's making $80,000 or something like that. You know, that's kind of, and not saying that's the only thing that causes attraction, but that's kind of another driver. So being a provider, also where we sit in society and how we're viewed by society is oftentimes by our success. So, and with that, we try to get there as quick as possible. So sometimes you'll hear somebody say, oh, you know, I'm focusing on myself and I'm trying to build something. I think that's why we also glorify, you know, she stayed down with me when I was building. But then some people, you know, get misled from that and they wait and they look around elsewhere because, you know, they got to a certain level and they probably got big headed. So they looking around. But, you know, we hype up that, oh, she started with him when they was both eating McDonald's and look where he's at now. You know what I'm saying? So I think that plays a part as well.
Definitely. I want to say this too. Um, that's part of it, you know, having everything together before you know, you want to stick to that. But I think what needs to be highlighted in terms of men is like our sense of fulfillment. You know what I'm saying? So
It's
when
true as well.
we got goals and things like that, and you know, a certain purpose, that brings our fulfillment. So like that creative space, if you have a business or some sort of venture you want to pursue, if you can create that, manifest that, and it's flourishing, we get a sense of fulfillment. But if we live in life struggling the whole time, we're not even gonna be in a space to want to say, you know what I'm saying, let me go ahead and relax on this and go build a family. Like, you know, we got certain things we need to do, but first, I think our purpose is what comes first in our lives. You know what I'm saying? So that comes first, and then that's when you start bringing other things on. Because you do need a foundation. You need a safe. You need something. Men need to be, and y'all. I don't know if y'all agree with this or disagree, but we like when we're able to be dependent upon. So if your family needs you and you can, you know, provide that safety or whatever service to them, we feel good when we're able to do that. But if our family needs something and we can't provide that, you know, that take a toll on us, on our mental health and our physical health, and that adds all types of stress and things like that. So when it comes to us, we got to put our purpose first.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of like I said earlier, like, I mean, Kevin Samuels kind of said some of this too, with just being a high value man, just somebody that's just like useful, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, like sometimes I do feel bad when it's like somebody asks for you for help, and as a man, you can't help them, you feel useless. You know what I'm saying? At times, so it's like, dang. But if you have everything, then it's like, okay, I can help somebody. I can, you know. So, yeah, that's also definitely a part of it, I think.
Bad.
Um.
You can go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So you guys like to feel useful. At one point, do you guys ever notice in like a sense of change? Maybe like sometimes that for some men it goes to their head and it kind of like build an ego monster where they just like turn into like a little mini narcissist, like where they walk around and they're like, well, I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that, and they kind of like in a way put other people down because they don't have that, but they like glorifying themselves to their significant other because they can provide, but they're like at the same time they like also putting other people down. Like, do you guys notice that when they start to behave like that, or is it like they wake up one day, do the man in the mirror and be like, wait, you're not the same? Like, can they notice a change when it first happened?
Me specifically, I haven't seen. Well, I surround myself with, you know, people who are definitely humble, and kind of had similar backgrounds as me. So I don't necessarily see But for me personally, you know, I think, you know, some people do get a big head once they do get to a certain level, and that goes for anybody. That goes for any gender. Once they get to a certain level, people are going to get a big head. But um, I think more so it's more sometimes confidence. I do see a change in people with confidence once they do reach a certain height. I know for me, when I graduated college, I got a certain level of confidence. When I got a certain job, I got a certain level of confidence. I didn't get a big head because I know the background I had, but also too, now it's like, yo, I defeated some, you know, I overcame a lot of hardships and triumphs. Like I can talk a little different now. I don't have to be as timid. I don't have to keep my head down and work so hard, even though I am still keeping my head down and work so hard because I still got goals. But I think that's a part of it too. And but as far as people changing their whole attitude and kind of being self-centered, I think that just, you know, goes around to different people. That's just, you know, person by person.
Yeah, for sure. Like it definitely has like something to do with that person's attitude previous. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
especially like I don't know. We talk about this a lot. Like when people get some money, like they change and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know, so it's like money really just like exposes you. You know what I'm saying? Like it just makes you 10 times of the person you already were. You feel me?
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you meant this too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, did you also mean it too? Like, let's say I'm the husband and I'm providing, then my wife may have like a different role, but I'm paying for all these things. And like, did you mean like also like from like husband to like wife too? Like,
I was honestly low-key speaking from past like experience where I would go on a date with my ex and we'll walk in a restaurant and he'll be like, "Oh, well, I'll make the most money in here," and it's just like I
Yeah.
would
That
like,
person.
what?
I promise you that's how he would be. I would
I
just
ain't never
like,
heard no shit like that.
Yeah.
man, I would like laugh it off, like, ha ha, because he made good money, but it's just like, dude, calm down. Like, you have no idea. You can be sitting next to a billionaire dressed casual. Calm down. Like, calm down. That's why I was like asking, because I wonder if guys notice them. But he wasn't always like that. Like before he graduated college and had that job, he wasn't like that at all. Like he didn't start, because we were together for years, and it was like he didn't start walking into the restaurants like I'm the big shot caller in here until like after he like started making serious money. So it's just like, do guys even notice the change? Like I noticed the change, but do guys notice the change within themselves? So yeah, that's what that comes from. But it could be easily like, oh well, if the husband is provide, who, okay, you guys probably don't watch Love and Hip Hop, but Jocelyn has, when she was with Stevie, she said like sometimes when he would get upset with her, he would take everything he bought for her away, like a punishment. So it's just like, that's pretty much the same thing. Like this guy punishing his wife because she did something to upset him. And now he's like, well, I bought that laptop, give it here. I bought this, give it here. Even Little Dirk had like joked around in a song recently. He was like, if she's an ungrateful bee, I take her blank off. Give me them blanks back. And it's just
Mm.
like, it's
I heard that song.
like,
Yeah.
it's like,
That's exactly why these dudes, as soon as they get on, they do get a big head. But you still got to be a man at the end of the day. And I think one thing that grounds a lot of the men that I know is their faith. So I know a lot of solid Christian men. I know a lot of solid Muslim men, or just men in general that just think on a more critical level. And
Yeah.
it really shows you their concerns and what they're worried about. Like you think if you that wealthy and your concerns are something so great that if she acting up, then you take stuff. She ain't no child, bro.
Yeah.
Like you a grown man, bro. Like you gotta just do better as a man. You know what I'm saying? But I think in terms of that arrogance and that big headedness, um, a lot of that gets grounded back when it comes to faith, according to the men that I see. So I know people that are, you know, multimillionaires, and they walk around like they're normal people, and it's because they know all of that can be taken away. You're not better than anybody because you've done those things. The only thing that has happened is you've increased your revenue, your money, but did your morals increase? Did your
Mindset
capacity,
increase. Yeah.
right? Your mindset, your capacity to serve other people, because that's really what it's really about.
Yeah. Sir.
You know
I can agree with 100% with that, because the guy I'm talking about, actually, he had told me that he didn't believe in God.
Yeah.
So that, you don't make that face reveal. Yes, you should have, man. And that was honestly the toughest part about our relationship. At that point, when he told me I wanted to break up with him, I had to like talk to my pastor about it. He just said, like, God's not going to view him any differently and stuff like that. Like, so that's why I stayed. But that should have been the first red flag, because like you said, like when guys have like strong faith, they are more humble. This guy didn't have any faith, so maybe that's why he wasn't humble.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like going back to our conversation earlier about how social media does definitely affect a lot of this. Like, it definitely affects people's, attachments and materialistic things, songs about Birkins or bags, money, etc., like stuff like that. It definitely affects people's perspective on things, and also, seeing how, oh, I'm up now, let me go and stunt on everyone else, let me go and flex on everyone else. Like, I feel like that type of stuff definitely is promoted in a lot of music and stuff, and it if people aren't grounded in their own type of faith or spirituality or whatever, it easily gets to their head, and it easily can make them change as a person, because at the end of the day, they're not really concerned about their significant other and things. They're just concerned with their image and how they're portrayed.
That's facts. That's facts. Y'all, I ain't know if we had any more questions or not, or you ready to wrap this thing up. I don't want to hold them on too long. On to the podcast.
We got a couple more. Y'all all right with that?
Yeah, are you okay? Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I guess this kind of goes in. I'm gonna do this one out of order. This kind of goes into what we was talking about, but I guess I have a question for y'all. Does toxic masculinity exist?
Yes, for
And
sure.
does toxic femininity exist?
Yes.
Does? Okay. You want to elaborate on it?
Toxic masculinity is my ex, for sure. For sure. Didn't realize that until afterwards, and just like thinking back on little things. Like, I'm telling you, I'm not even the type to just bash this guy. We will be out to dinner that he's paying for. He'll tell me, like, I'm enjoying my food. He'll tell me, you're gonna get fat. I mean, dang, if you want me to just waste your money, just say that. I will have to eat it. But even toxic feminine, like for women, expecting a guy, well, if he's going to talk to me, he's going to text me, he has to pay my bills and stuff like that. Like, lady, chill. If them bills, if you can't pay your bills, just say that. Don't put that on this guy. Don't put that on.
Bills is getting paid before he was there.
Just say that.
Understandable.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, yeah, I do see it on both sides. I feel like, toxic masculinity has been like an issue from when stereotypes were first created, and like, the standard of, men providing and stuff like that. But then that can be taken too far, and men, perpetuating it towards other men, and like, like calling each other simps for things that, are not actually being a simp, like just caring for your woman. That doesn't make you a simp, But then
I
I think,
interject right quick. I just wanted to put this. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I found out that simp and pick me are essentially the same.
I was just about to bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up like way earlier, but I didn't have like a time to put it in. But
yeah. No, because that's what I was gonna bring up when you mentioned toxic femininity. I feel like you can bring up pick-me's with that. That's what I think I would consider as toxic femininity, because certain women bashing other women they're like, oh well, I cook and clean. I don't care if my man, does X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna be there for him. I'm gonna be da 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 da. Like, oh, if you don't do that, you'll never find a man. Like, or if there'll be a tweet or something saying like, oh, women these days, don't know how to do X, Y, Z. Oh, I do. Oh, I da 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 da. Like, or women bashing women for leaving abusive situations and stuff like that. Like, I feel like on that hand, it's toxic femininity because, like, pick-me's, so to speak, they will do anything to seek the attention of a man, even if it includes bashing other women or, labeling other women to try and look better, to be picked, so to speak. Like, that's what I think about that.
100%.
Okay. What are y'all thoughts on that? Right, Sam, Leak, Jamil.
Go ahead, Sam.
I can go first. I guess I would agree. I feel like, both sides have it. And as far we talked about it last week, about the toxic part of toxic masculinity, or the toxic part of toxic femininity, and kind of that toxic part kind of needs to be broken down and broken off. And Yada, you did a great job of kind of splitting those two up and just essentially breaking it down to, are you a good person or are you a bad person? Like, what are you perpetuating? Like, not putting a label as far as some of the roles that we're expected to have. And some things, like I said last week, some things are shoved into certain shapes that aren't supposed to. So you can be labeled toxic. Some toxic masculinity could be labeled something from a woman's perspective, but on a man's perspective, not essentially, bashing women as far as toxic masculinity, but some things like how Black men raise their child or how men raise their child. Some of those things are being labeled as toxic masculinity. Like if he's talking too stern to somebody, just certain things, I think we throw the word toxic around too much. And like Jamil said, it became a buzzword for us to kind of just label people, and everybody gonna be like, oh, you toxic. And then even people label themselves like, oh, I got this is my toxic trait that I got. If I got this toxic trait, I gotta you gotta deal with it or whatever. I got a toxic trait of, texting my exes, or I got a toxic trait of snapping at my boyfriend, even if he's doing good, just starting a random argument because I got bored. Just stuff like that. That's what kills me. Like how toxic is just thrown around in a way for people just to say that person is doing bad. And I think giving them that toxic word is a buzzword, so it's become trendy. So people just saying it to say it, but yeah, I think it just boils down to if you're a good person or if you're a bad person, essentially.
When it comes to toxic femininity, I think it affected society in a way where it affects people's thinking. So when it comes to certain buzzwords, people typically they stop thinking about what a person is saying rather than, is that a buzzword? Should I be offended? Let me go ahead and be offended. You know what I'm saying? So our society itself is super, super, super sensitive, meaning you can't even have a lot of critical discourse, especially, I think I brought this up last time, but on Twitter, there's no critical discourse on Twitter at all. It is literally just straight ignorant, whatever, and they feed into it all the time. They don't care about what's logical. They'll bash you for being logical on there. So like that, like when you respond to things in a feminine, not woman way, but in a feminine way, meaning you have your, I don't want to say,
Compassion, like, so you sympathize.
it's kind of when you lead your thinking with emotion rather than logical thinking or linear thinking. So I feel like a situation is this, therefore it must be, rather is that reality. So that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people in our society, they just feel like things are reality when they may not necessarily be reality. That's where I think the toxic component when it comes to femininity, and that comes from men and women these days, because a lot of us take on those ways of thinking. It's not in a linear, in a critical manner.
Yeah, like I guess like I broke this down in the last episode, but I mean people say things like, especially like toxic masculinity, that's kind of in the spotlight. In my opinion on it is like, I don't think masculinity or femininity is toxic, right? If I'm being toxic, if I was gonna ask you a masculine traits, would you say being toxic is one of them? No, right? You know what I'm saying? And neither is being feminine. That's not toxic at all, right? So I feel like when people put them together, and especially like toxic masculinity, like that was created by like two gay white men. If you go back to like who coined that term, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of it's been like just to bash black men. So like I feel like we need to redefine how we say things, because there's nothing wrong with being masculine or feminine. I think they're both needed. You feel me?
Balance.
Yeah.
I think that's more profound than what people realize, low key.
Yeah.
Separating the two, like, if it's not in a healthy manner, especially masculinity or femininity, if it's not done in a healthy manner, then it's not even masculine. It's not even
Yeah.
feminine.
Right.
Those two are, they're interchangeable, and you need one. They're like, I guess you call it transmutable. You can take one and it transmutes into the other, but the toxic component kind of dispels it away from being masculine or feminine.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a man, if you're using masculine energy to be toxic, that's not the masculine component. You're just being a toxic individual, and vice versa with femininity.
Honey, you just being manipulative and abusive. You know what I'm saying? Like one big thing is like, okay, like the whole like don't cry thing, right? You know, men don't cry. They'd be like, that's toxic masculinity. No, that's just being abusive. is really what it is, you know. So I feel like some things we define as toxic masculinity, we're not properly defining it. It can be broke down into something very more specific, and that's just being abusive or manipulative, or you know what I mean?
Emotionally unavailable.
Yeah, it has
A whole
nothing to
bunch
do
of
with
things.
masculinity. You know,
Yeah.
that's not masculine. That's outside of the realm of masculinity. You're not being a masculine man then. You know what I'm saying? You're being a toxic man, you know. So.
Exactly. I wish that they would get rid of that stereotype that men don't cry. Like, they're humans as well. How come they don't cry if they have emotions? I don't understand that. I feel like that's probably why so many men are emotionally unattached, because they feel like they have to be, because they're ashamed for showing emotions, which is toxic. It's not even toxic masculinity, like you said. It's just toxic. But it's I feel it's stupid. You know.
100. All right, we got one more question, right, and then we'll close it out. So, is feminism good for the Black family structure?
Yes. And if we're talking about what you did, piggyback on what you just said, removing the word toxic and just thinking about what it is to be feminine, then yes, because I'm so grateful for everything that my grandma taught me. I feel like she made me a one-of-a-kind type of lady, where I pretty much follow simple rules that she gave me, that actually, when I walk into different places, they'd be like, well, I can tell you're not from around here. Really? Because I'm just doing what my grandma told me. So yes, I definitely think it's essential for the Black household, just because it just could give gems that could last a long lifetime, as far as simple as, hey, pronounce your words like how they're spelled. Sounds silly and simple, but in an interview, when that person who's interviewing you and hiring you, he hears you and he's like, oh, you know what? I could probably trust this person to host a meeting. I could trust this person to do this, that for me. Why not? They could answer some of my important phone calls. Why not? And it took your grandma, it took your mom to tell you, stop saying there and say there. Stop saying her and say here. Stop saying huh, cuz, and say because, or like, just, it takes that. You might think like, wow, they're being so uptight, but in the long run, you'll be like, wow, I'm so grateful. Like, honestly, my grandma tried to tell me, I'm 10 years old, she told me to study the dictionary. I thought she was crazy. I wish I would get that.
All right, I think you meant like, okay, I think you meant more like femininity, but like I was more like talking about like the feminist movement, like feminism.
Oh.
Yeah, but those are actually some good points you brought up too,
Those
though.
are
Like
some good points,
I didn't even really, those was good. But yeah, like the feminism, right? This feminist movement we see.
Oh, okay.
Wait, could you
elaborate, please?
Could you just start repeating the question?
Yeah, like is feminism good for the Black family structure? We can just say, just the Black community, right? Is feminism good for us? Is it something that we should participate in?
Or two, also, should it be held on as strong as it has? if that makes sense. Or you can answer the first part of that
Yeah.
question if that didn't make sense as well.
I mean, to me, like, to my understanding, like, the meaning of feminism is the equality of both of the sexes. And I feel like a lot of the movement, you know, the feminist movement, like, you know, Black women were a part of. Obviously, white women kind of took most of the, you know, credit for it. But, and I feel like a lot of the movement originally was, you know, allowing women to, you know, get educated, equal rights in the workplace, and, you know, being able to, you know, move up in like different, you know, work ladders and stuff like that. I feel like that has benefited our community because you have seen Black women be, like we said, you know, get more educated, start businesses and all of that. And I feel like that has definitely helped the Black family structure. I don't really see how it has not helped it, but I feel like at the same time, like going back to what Ariel said, you know, at the same time there has to be like that balance. And um, I feel like there has been a lot, like mostly positive impacts for me. I feel like, yeah, like um, the Black family structure has definitely, um, like women have definitely helped that out by like getting educated, like, and like coming up and yeah, that, so to speak.
So to piggyback on what her answer was, I do feel like feminism has helped the family structure, pretty much for those same reasons, like because we are able to do more, we're able to give more now because we both man and woman can make the same amount of money potentially. That just gives the child a better like lifestyle, give them more opportunities. So yeah.
Right.
Okay. Jamil, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think you could definitely recognize a lot of the benefits in terms of developing an independent mindset and like a less dependent, like, oh, I need a person in order to prosper. I think it's good because I think about my sisters, or if I had a daughter and things like that, if she would go around thinking that she would need another person in order to prosper, I would be like, come on, baby girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I would raise in a different manner. But I think along with feminism has come such a criticism of men to where there's like, I don't know if a lot of women in our community recognize it, but it's a lot of, trying to think of the word, um, not bitterness, but it's like a negative view when it comes to Black men in leadership.
Resentment, maybe.
Resentment?
Kind of similar to resentment. I'm gonna think of the word later, but you could think about resentment, but they resist Black male leadership, but they accept white male leadership. But feminism was originally combating white patriarchy because Black men did not, we didn't rule at any of recent history. White men did. So they were fighting white patriarchy. But if you had a Black man in a household or in a position of leadership, he didn't get the same respect as the white men. So I think to a degree, we face some of that backlash from women taking on that feminism uh, mindset, and then some of them took it too far where they're just like, no, forget all men, y'all can't, you're not qualified to lead me just because you're a man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think too what comes with that as well, as far as the feminist movement. I don't necessarily want to bash anything because a lot of great things have came out of it. But one thing I do have to say is the part that Black women played in the feminist movement, as far as carrying that movement on their back and actually making voices heard, and then white women kind of jumping off the rails of that and leaving Black women behind. So even as far as where they sit in certain levels of society, Black women aren't afforded the same things that they were fighting for, that white women were able to get out of the movement. So that's one thing I did want to highlight from that. And because as far as, feminism, it's great for giving a voice and also having your own identity and not being so much in the shadows or being the backbone as Black women have always been for a lot of the things that we partake in as far as civil rights movement and speaking up and just social justice work. Um, so I think it's done a lot of great things. And like Jamil said, I got, aunties and cousins who are women, and they deserve a voice equally just as much as me. They deserve the same pay, more than me. They is getting paid more than me, but that's not the same across the board. They had to work 3 times harder than probably what I did. I had to work 2 times harder, but they had to work 3 times harder than the average to get into the position they're at. So I think it afforded them a lot of benefits, that and stuff that they're still fighting for. So um, as far as it pertains to the Black family, though, uh, I think it's great that women are starting to kind of come into their own, and they're starting to have a voice. But also too, I think that we need to continue to uplift Black women's voices, because um, their voices kind of get left behind a lot of times too. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, honestly, what I think, especially like the feminist movement, I think the feminist movement is one of the biggest roles in destroying the Black family, right? Gloria Steinem was a CIA agent. Her magazine was funded by the CIA. You know
Ain't
what I'm
nobody
saying?
like
And
that. Yeah.
and again, right? The white woman that had like the fist up. You know what I'm saying in the picture? She was a CIA agent. A lot of people don't know that. But kind of like Jamil said, I'm trying to think what was the point. Just had it in my mind. Yeah, I guess like not only like the criticism, but like, oh yeah, white woman. Okay, what that really was like the feminist movement. To really be honest, that was a war between white women and white men. You know what I'm saying? Fighting the system of patriarchy, because Black men today don't really control whether you get a job or not. You know what I'm saying? Like the system of patriarchy, we get affected by it too. We don't control it. Black men never had, so I feel like it created this huge divide, right? And they kind of got Black women on board because, like, Black people are just strong people, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything we want done, man, we're going to find a way to do it. So they use Black women to really push this movement, you know what I'm saying? And kind of put some things in their heads about Black men, but we don't control the system of patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they made it more empowering to go, like, work long hours for a white man and have this white leadership than to do something for your family, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I think feminism has been one of the biggest destroyers in the Black community. Feminist movement.
Yeah, and I don't want to combat your point or anything, but I do want to bring up, and Remy and Ariel, y'all can speak to this as well. Even though that Black men, we don't control it, but we sometimes benefit from it though. Um, I know that's what I've heard from the other side. Now that's not me, but that's what I've heard and from the other side, and I want to make sure that that is being heard as well. Like, even though we didn't create it, we benefit from it sometimes. So
Black women out educate and out earn their mate. They're the only women in America to do that, right? And not anything that's against Black women, because Black women are excellent. You know what I'm saying? Brilliant, all that. But do we not think that was by design? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. The only woman that out earn their man in America is Black women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
That's true.
It makes sense to another way the system can oppress the Black man, which brings up a point that I made earlier when I said I feel like the Black men have it the hardest. Yeah, it is set up that way. Another way, a sense of welfare. Okay, a lot of people not as well accepting food stamps. Okay, you don't want food stamps, so you don't, because if you get food stamps, you have to be like a single parent. Okay, you don't want that. How about this? I'll pay you more. Then you pay I'll pay you more. Then you start looking at the guy that you're with, and you're just like, not everybody, but like pretty much like you guys are saying, when you feel like some women can't accept the man as the leader in the household and stuff like that. Okay, that I start to think if they're like that, 9 it's because of pride. What boosts somebody's pride? What did you say? Money. Money, because most women earn more than their significant other if they are African American. not all the times, but most of the time. And when that happens, the ego boost, like we said earlier, if your faith isn't strong, you get a little ego boost, you start acting different, you start treating people different, you start being disrespectful, you start not looking at your man as the head of the household, because that's what the man is, whether he's earning more or less than you. He's supposed to be the head of the household. But if she's making more, she might feel like, you know what, I'm the head of the household. I'm the captain of this ship. But it's not supposed to be that way. But it is. And I guess I could see why you say, oh, it's kind of bad for the family when you put it that way. But like in me and Remy's eyes, it could be a positive thing. If, like Jamil said, if the faith is correct.
I think that's a great point.
I mean, I guess even too, like even on that point, like I don't know. I mean, I know like, you know, we went through 400 years of slavery and conditioning, you know what I'm saying? We got a lot to work on, but like even how Black women were viewed in like Black societies or African societies, man. You know how many queens was raised out of Africa? You know what I'm saying? So like, and not to say that like all women were put on that pedestal, because there's problems everywhere, but I feel like, I don't know, like if we really go back to our culture, right? If we really go back to our origins, the woman was always put on a high pedestal. It was only until we came to America to where like women, and after like colonialism on the continent too, because they went through it too, but it was only then where it's like women are just down, you know what I'm saying? Because it was always man and woman side by side. You feel me? So
Right.
I get, yeah. So I guess like, I don't know, even things like that, it's like, I mean, we kind of, if we get back to what we were doing, that's kind of how it already was. You know what I'm saying? Like women's rights and stuff. Like we always valued the woman. You feel me? It was not only until we came to this place. Now it's like women are on the bottom, and we realize that that's how men in their society treat the woman. You feel me?
Facts.
Yeah.
That's facts.
And I feel like, yeah, like to that point, I think that, yeah, in Africa and before, you know, Black people came to this country, like there definitely was more equality. Like she was the queen, she's helping with things. She's not just, you know, the house mother, like she was helping and educated. Like my mother is an immigrant from Sierra Leone, and she's a doctor, and like my grandmother, she was a nurse. Like I have long history of you know, my African side, like the women being very educated, the men, you know, helping them be educated, the equality type of a thing, you know. And so I feel like in America, like the so-called tradition, the patriarchy for white people was the woman kind of being in the house and having less freedom, less roles, and that just kind of stemmed from their culture, not really ours. And so I understand that, yeah, fighting patriarchy was more so fighting that system, and that's not something that we have really been about. It's something that kind of already like was in this country, like that we didn't have that same we were not raised on that. So yeah, it's definitely something I agree with.
100. Jamil, you got anything to add?
Nah, not on that point.
Heard you. Okay, I guess we have like one last question. I remember you asked this question and you wanted to know why don't young men encourage their parents to move out of their neighborhoods, right? I think we built on that. So anybody want to deal with that question?
Yeah. So I think my situation, not necessarily unique, but my situation, I mean, I had a single mother. She had 4 boys. So kind of raising all of us. Being in the hood is kind of the only area we had to choose from, and essentially, I never brought anything up from leaving the hood because I already see my mom going through so much. How could I ask for even more? So the only way that I can deal with that is to adapt to my environment. So even though I might not want to go to sleep listening to gunshots or being able to pick out when a drive-by is going to happen or anything like that, I have to deal with it at least for now. when I was younger. Luckily, you know, we were able to get up out of that situation. But when I was younger, I couldn't say anything. So I never brought it up to my mom. Even if I did, the most I could do is probably go back to Duluth. But I knew if I went back to Minnesota, I was destined to, you know, be in a gang or something, or, you know, follow the path of other family members that were doing whatever. So I was like, you know, I can't ask for nothing extra. But then I got an opportunity to go to a high school in a nice neighborhood. And I got in through like a lottery little thing. It was a charter school. And it was my decision, even though that I didn't stay specifically in an area, I stayed almost 45 minutes away. I decided to still go to that high school because I knew it was an opportunity for me. So I'll wake up, and our public transportation here is called MARTA. And I'll wake up, you know, 4 a.m. to get on the train for an hour to 2 hours, just to go to high school. So I think that was an opportunity for my mom. She was in a certain situation, but I could kind of adapt to it and got the opportunity to get something out of that situation and to kind of do better. So I think that's at least my reason why I never brought it up as far as leaving the hood or bringing it up to my mom. Jamil or Yada, if y'all want to go.
Definitely. I think part of that, you know, wanting to hold on to it is kind of like a little delusional kind of state. You know, you thinking you have to stay in those sort of situations, and um, to a degree, it depends on how you do it. You know, like there are things you could do to help build up the places in which you live. But if that's not necessarily, if your goal is to perpetuate what goes on in there, that's a problem. But if you're trying to stay there, remain in the community, and build it up, that's what will be beneficial. Um, and man, I had situations where I just came home, you know what I'm saying, and in broad daylight, you know, guns pointed in my direction. It's like, is that what you want to continue to, you know, experience, or have other younger children experience that sort of thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to ask yourself critical questions. And what are you working on? What are you doing? And what do you want to see in your community?
Yeah, for sure. Like on that point too, like that's a good point. It's like why, like what is your intentions on staying there? Do you want to keep doing the negative things we're talking about, or like, you know, do you want to, you know, anonymous Louis Farrakhan called for 10,000 fearless? Are you trying to be one of them 10,000 fearless? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it definitely comes down to that. And kind of like what Sam Leek said, it's like if that's what it's got to be, you know, like maybe there's not an opportunity to go somewhere else at that point. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you don't make enough money to live in this certain community, so this is just what you got to work with. You know, so.
Yeah, and I would say
Absolutely.
that's definitely a complex way of thinking that your cousin, you said, or your
My nephew, and
yeah,
I only said that because I've noticed that they have like lower income housing in different areas. Like the neighborhood could be really, really nice, and they actually have like affordable housing over there. That's something that I just learned at this age. So it's just like, you know, hearing my nephew just telling me that, oh, you know, he feels like he could act a certain way when he's at my house versus how he is when he's around his house. It kind of made me a little sad because I don't want him to feel like he's tempted to have to join a gang when he's a teenager. He's only 6 right now. In 10 years, I don't want him to feel like he has to do this because he lives in this neighborhood.
yeah.
At one point, because I've like tried to suggest my sister kind of like move closer to where I'm at, and she's more so focused on like, oh, where would they like them changing school. So it's just like, I wonder if they told her like, oh, I want to live somewhere else, like how would she do it, and like would the young boys have the courage to say that to their mother or father?
Yeah, and I think he got a complex way of thinking because, and I'm gonna go back to what Jamil said last week. If you don't know that you have options, then what's, if that's all you know, like, luckily he's seeing one side and the other. But if all you know is the rough neighborhood, and all your friends only know the rough neighborhood, then how do you know that there's another side? And I think that's us, as now that we're a little bit older, going back and extending that hand and showing people that there is another side. Um, and also giving back to the community is another way you can do that, and providing resources for the people, for kids like that to see that there is another side, and kind of encouraging them. And sadly, you know, when you're 6 or you're 10 or, you know, whatever, if you're still under your mom's roof and you're not providing any extra income or anything like that, if that's the only situation the mother can be in, or that she still sees that it's fit for them, for the kids to be in that, then nothing's really going to change, unfortunately. That's how I see it sometimes. Because a lot of times it's, especially in Black families, you know, kids need to stay in a kid's place, even if they're not necessarily safe or they don't feel safe. So yeah, that's that on that.
For sure. All right, that was our last question. Anybody got any points or questions they want to bring up, or any last points?
Nah.
Yeah, I wanted to say, always keep a critical mind, no matter what it is. It could be your faith, another person's faith. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions or to have tough dialogue. And yeah, keep a critical mind, critical ear, and go about life in that manner.
For sure. Be an envelope pusher.
Be an envelope pusher for sure. And I just wanted to thank Remy and Ariel again for being on here. We really appreciate it. Y'all coming on here and at least having a conversation with us. So we know this was a long one. But I like to at least, I'm happy that we at least had that dialogue to get different perspectives and show that we can have safe spaces for both sides to, you know, come and talk about our differences, things that we think we need to work on, things we think the other side needs to work on, and not kind of point the finger and play tit for tat. So I appreciate y'all coming on here and talking with us. And I hope that wasn't too stressful for y'all or anything like that, and y'all felt good. Cool, yeah, because we definitely didn't want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, you guys were good. You guys didn't have to be nervous at all. This was a great podcast, and appreciate you again too, Jamil, for coming back on here and talking with us. Definitely love your input and coming on here and having conversations with us. So I want to thank all y'all for being on here and talking it up and chatting it up
for having us.
Yeah, and chatting it up with us, because people need to see this. People need to see that, you know, conversations are being had, at least between both of us, instead of all the fighting that we see on social media. You know, everybody got their phone in their hand 24/7. So this is good.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for having us. My last words is judge people based on their hearts and not their appearance.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that, you know, these conversations are definitely necessary, and like the fact that we're having them is important, and it's a great thing. So I appreciate y'all for even having this space, creating this space in the first place, because it's so necessary. So
bars, fake bars.
100.
Yes.
I appreciate y'all having me, man. I appreciate it for the second time.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all time and hosting.
For sure, man. Appreciate you. All right, Sam, you want to close it out?
Yeah, man. It's been the Envelope Pushers with Sam, man.
Yada.
And keep on pushing that envelope.
Peace.
Peace.